Okay. So this is an exciting session. I've been talking about your session, Sneha. So here is Sneha Jadhav, and some of you have already seen her at the weekly Wednesdays since she joined us and gave us a little sneak peek of what she's going to talk about. Sneha has been working on defining and designing multiple layers of the IoT stack from scratch in the automotive space. She's actually a new student of mine in the AV data course and just getting started in there. But I'm very intrigued by her background. And she's worked on preventive maintenance products, edge device software platform, edge communication, and connectivity. And she loves investing time in continuous improvement of product discovery, design skills, and keeping up with the latest in the edge world. So she's going to talk to us about product management of digital twins. And you should just take it away. So I don't want to even take a minute extra. So can't hear you.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Sudha. Hey, I'm trying to share my screen. I have a couple of slides, if you don't mind.
You should be able to do that.
It's
you see the share option?
It says it's been disabled for.
Okay, let me figure out. Let me just make sure that.
So I can just get started quickly. Like Sudha gave a quick introduction about me. I have been spending a lot of time.
Okay, I just made you a co-host, so it should let you do anything.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can do that now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And people, if you ask questions, that would actually keep it more interesting. I don't want to just read out all the questions. So if you're able to see, should I be reading out the question or you'll be able to see an answer? What do you prefer? Just trying to get a screen shared. Mrinal, I didn't notice you were here. Thank you for joining. And thank you for that question, Emmanuel. I appreciate that. We will find answer for that. It was not part of the UX for product, but we will find that answer for you. Okay.
Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So thank you everyone for joining in. I'm Sneha Jadhav, and like Sudha said, I've been working a lot on defining and designing requirements for different layers of the IoT stack. And when Sudha told me about this session, I thought I could share some of my experiences. And let's just dig in. So just quick highlight of what are the product challenges in IoT. And I'm sure a lot of people would have a big list. And so these are some of the core ones that came to my mind and that have been challenging me. First is matching of business and user goals to technical capability. So, we have technology, we have devices, we have capabilities, technical capabilities which are really advanced and available to us at the tip of our hands. For example, we have plug-and-play devices which can send information through Wi-Fi. But are those capabilities usable to meet user and business goals? Is a question mark. For example, like I said, if just because there's a plug and play device in your building environment that can send information via Wi-Fi, that doesn't mean that the business goals or the business restrictions will allow it to send the data, which means that we have to really work as a product manager to understand how do we meet our user goals, what are our user goals, and how do we use and leverage the technical capability to meet them. The second part is that, as we all know, that there are different layers of the IoT stack, right? You have the cloud software, cloud application, you have the device, you have the edge software, edge, the physical edge development. And each of these layers or each of these applications have a different development cycles. So like your edge or device would have longer development cycle than your cloud or your cloud app. Then the next thing is coordination with different PMs. So all these different stacks would have different PMs, and we have to work with them for timeline, for content, and it is not easy to meet your timelines, your goals, without having clear communication across all the other PMs. And then the last thing, I think this is a very critical one, that is you're blindsided by when you're drafting SLAs. All our products have SLAs, right? And so for example, you create a product that says that it will send the user an instant notification if something breaks down. Now you create a product, you go promote it, you talk to sales guys, your marketers start talking to customers, and then when you're drafting your SLA, your tech team says, hey, we can give you three nines. And then you go and start calculating, okay, what does 3.9 mean? How much is downtime is it? And then you realize, oh my God, this is a lot of downtime, which means that my end user would rather get a call from his own customer before my text message arrives to my customer. So and then you feel, oh my God, this is a deal breaker. But with 3 nines, I have no standing. My product has no standing in the market. So these are really critical pieces of the puzzle that a PM has to manage. And just a quick high overview of what we have to deal with. When we say there are different layers of the stack, you have your users that you continuously are focusing on as a product manager. You have the cloud, you have the edge cloud. Then you have your edge, the actual software device that is talking to these different ends. Now these devices are in different network connectivity, right? They're master slaves, they're sensors, and they're talking to the edge devices using different protocols. And all of these protocols have their own nuances. Now, usually every system or every ecosystem is embedded within another ecosystem, which is like a core ecosystem, which is a network of systems. And they have their own cloud or their own edges, their own edge devices. And you are, as a PM, when you're trying to give your end user a feature or a product, you are trying to make sure that nothing, all of these moving parts, no changes on, or any changes on the moving parts does not affect your end users' capability to serve their own customers. And I just wanted to give this whole perspective or context when we say that IoT has these different stacks. Along with this different stack is also talking to the other ecosystems, which in turn affects your product and your customers. And as a PM, you're trying to keep all of this together, right? That brings me to digital twins. So if you think of what could be one way that I can actually create a boundary around my product, where I can control or I can influence anything that's going to change, anything that's going to affect my end users. And that brings me to digital twins. So I think digital twins is a very talked about topic in the industry. And it's being talked up in different scenarios, different use cases. But what is digital twin? It's basically an abstract view of the physical device, which highlights one or more properties of the device. What it means is that a device that's out in the field or out in a space is affected by its own technical capabilities, the people who are using it, the environment it's embedded in, and a digital twin might highlight one or multiple aspects of that device. So there are two types of digital twins. One is on cloud digital twin, and one is on edge digital twin. I think we all are very much familiar with on cloud digital twins because it basically is, and it can be a simple asset twin, which just reflects the telemetry data of the device, whether it's on or off, or whether it's communicating or not communicating, to something that's super complex, that is using the historical data, the BOM data of the device or third-party information about the device to create some really complex twins to cater to multiple use cases. So let's just quickly walk through what are the use cases for on-cloud twins. So your research and design uses the twins for analysis.
So, sorry, Sneha, I just wanted to make sure that if there are questions, we take them because you've covered a lot, right?
I know.
So can you go back to the previous slide that you were showing? So I wanted to ask people, from your point of view, when you're looking at product management, is this something that you're looking at? Do you have questions? If people have questions, we can pause, answer, otherwise we can keep moving. Yeah, okay. sometimes it's a lot to absorb. It's interesting. Then, you need some
Yeah,
processing time. So
yeah, however.
I think we can go ahead. So this is a conversation I had with Sneha on what is digital twin. And then it turns out that my thinking of what she would talk about was even different, because there is the whole on the edge side and on the cloud
And
side.
then actually, there's a lot of content.
Yeah. And then you also had this thing of that it is not just, I'm jumping ahead here, but it is not just one product. It's a system of system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So it's usually a system of systems, right? So for example, if you are trying to give a preventive maintenance of your ecosystem, right? If you are giving preventive maintenance of your device, which is part of a bigger ecosystem, you have to get information from different devices that are connected to your device, and then also the ecosystem, right? Like for example, if I'm trying to give the health of my engine, which is inside a semi, I need to get some information about the other parts of the semi to tell me, oh yeah, this is working, or this may not work, or this might affect the system. So that's where the data that's coming in. And the twin, this is where the twin helps, right? So when you're creating a twin for maintenance use cases, you are pulling in information that are required to give end user features, or create end user features that would help them maintain their systems. It could be preventive, predictive, whatever. And it could be delivered in any format. But the idea is that you get all of these information in a twin, and then you are able to maintain it as a PM. You're able to create boundaries around it.
So when you're creating a twin, thinking about preventive or a specific use case, is there a product scope that might limit you because you are not thinking of potential use case which could come in much later? Like we do with typical architecture, you end up with that. Will that happen with the product scope too?
Absolutely, because that brings me to the next slide, because usually that's the edge platform, right? So your edge platform enables you to create these products, and the edge platform mainly has data, control, compute, and connectivity. When I say data is the data that comes in from all of the network devices, and the data that's sent out to the cloud, right? And then it could be at a different frequency. So some of them are real-time or near real-time streaming. Some of them are bulk uploads. And then there are other use case considerations that you have to do when you're talking about how your product would be affected. For example, I mean, this was my concluding slide, and I actually wanted to highlight what are the use case considerations that a product manager has to do so that their products is protected or at least controlled. I think one of the biggest things is that you have to spend time in discovery of your business goals, and what are the data or control capabilities on the edge that affect your business goals. So for example, if you're doing asset maintenance, you have to put in thought and think ahead about what are the things that I'm going to be needed for my asset maintenance, and how my product is going to evolve over time. And how do I look forward and include all of those information in my asset maintenance twin? Then maybe we're talking about operator efficiency. So I'm going to only focus on operator efficiency or driver efficiency. And then what are the parameters that are required? The next thing I say is that you have to understand where the data comes from. Your system is complex. A parameter can come from one of the core ecosystem fields, or it can come from one of the partner ecosystem fields. You have to know at what frequency it's coming. Second thing is, all of these links that is communicating the information, they have their own bandwidths. So for example, if your research team has used up all 250, say it has used up all the X bandwidth that is provided by this link, you have no bandwidth to pull the 50th field that you're trying to pull to create your product or to create a feature. So you have to be aware of those considerations. The next is definition of frequency of data. I think it's very important to know how would you need this information? Would it be real time? Would it be bulk information because you're going to marry it with some historical data? Or is it something that, and then the next point is about the data loss scenarios. I think what happens if you miss this data? What happens for next 15 minutes, you don't get any information about certain parameters? And this is very practical, it happens. So do you need a store and forward capability? And if you do need store and forward, how long do you need store and forward? What is the basic capability of the edge device that gives you or that has the capability of store and forward. So that's a very critical consideration. The next is the connectivity considerations. You cannot assume that your device will have Wi-Fi connectivity, and you have to understand that data does add costs. Yes, we are making a lot of progress, but data adds a lot of cost, and you have to be very cognizant of the fact that if your fleet or your fleet of devices is large, a single field means a lot of data, and how it affects your whole business model, your revenue model has to be taken care of. And I know, Sudha, you asked me about what would be the software considerations for edge if you are wanting to create an efficient product based or an efficient IoT product, so that you're able to control what affects the product. I think the first thing is, if you look at edge software platform and you Google it, you would get this whole stack diagram, a diagram with different stacks in it, which is great, and which is what mostly it's a pretty standard architecture. But from a product perspective, when you're building products on top of that edge, what matters is the apps that go on the edge have a very good balance of autonomy and efficiency. There is very limited real estate on the edge, and what we have, whoever is the app product manager or who is managing the architecture, has to really define these guidelines around what an app can do, and how do you make sure that it is efficiently doing what it needs to do, and there is no repetition of operations, or there's no hogging of memory and all of that. The next is standardization of communication format. This is very, very critical from a maintenance of a product perspective. Suppose you are getting 100 fields today and you need another 25 fields for a new feature. If the touch points or the changes that are going to happen in 5 places, that means your timeline is going to explode. So whenever there's a common standard communication format, you are able to flex and scale very easily, which means you can bring products to market very fast or features to market really quick. The next thing, and I'm going to be really quick, I know I'm running out of time, but this is the last point. I think it is very important to have a governance of real estate. And it's not necessarily to be done by PMs, but someone has to do a governance of real estate. And when I say real estate, what it means is, what are the data fields that we are getting from different devices? Who is using it? What's the bandwidth of the incoming pipelines? What is the data usage? What is the memory usage? And the list goes on as far as the real estate is concerned. But I think these 3 things are extremely critical for PMs and making sure your products are controlled. But yeah, having said that, I think I've covered what I wanted to. But I think I'll leave at this slide where use case considerations are extremely important. I think these are the 5 use case considerations that almost makes or breaks an IoT product once it lands in hands of the customers.
So I want to see if people have questions, because I think you gave a lot.
I know. I'm sorry. I tried to. You wanted me to go detail in 15 minutes, and I've tried to give you as much detail as possible.
I think you got us thinking, so that's a good thing. I don't know whether in your speed you already covered it, so bear with me if I missed it.
I'm trying to say everything in 15 minutes.
Okay, walk us through, we were talking about when you say the edge, thank you for bringing this diagram back. When you say the edge, when you say digital twin, and there are so many pieces of the architecture. And so when you're building out a digital twin, you might be a PM in one aspect of this. And so we had this conversation from your experience of taking an industrial asset and making it into a digital twin. I want to respect your non-disclosures from past clients and companies. So, I'm not naming any brand, but the experience is that you have to interact, you have to think of taking a dumb device, non-connected device, and giving it edge intelligence. Forget edge analytics, right? And then you have to interface with a carrier and then manage that cost of that payload. Then you have to figure out what is the cloud edge solution, whether you're using a third party or you have something inside your company. Suppose it's a big car company. It's possible that they have their own cloud, or a third-party cloud like an AWS cloud or IBM or an IBM digital twin solution. So what, help me understand if somebody is an aspiring PM who is looking at this, because one of the things I always tell people is, Roxy was saying this morning, whatever your area of expertise, where you have business acumen, expand on that industry and take it to IoT. What I tell my students is, it doesn't matter. Yes, you have to be passionate about solving a problem for an industry. When people come to my class and say, I want to move to AV space, I can say, yes, anybody can move into AV space. You just need to know what your transferable skills are. So coming back to your digital twin PM job, I look at it as 4 different PMs maybe who need to work together to build out this digital twin, even for an edge intelligence piece only. If the product is edge intelligence, it's not, it could be one end product for the customer, but it's going to be 4 product for the company. So if you are to go build this out again and start with an asset for a company which has multiple assets, related assets, you're going to create a platformatized piece of software, how would you structure the PM roles? Do you think it should be verticalized, catering to one customer vertical, owned by one PM, or should it be horizontal? What is your take on it? And help us understand why one or the other. What is the complexity in it?
So yes, you're right. As it is multiple PMs. So I think as far as the organization of PMs is concerned, I think you can divide it into 2 parts. So if you can see edge, right? So there's one half of the edge that talks to different devices, there are different protocols, and there's a different level of skill set that's required. And then there's the other half that talks to the cloud and sends the information. Once it's in cloud, I think we all are familiar with the PMs who work with the cloud information to build apps and mobile apps, web apps, all of that. I think the real trick is so when we talk about edge, I think the real trick comes here is, like you said, there could be 4 PMs on one edge because there are multiple applications on a given edge. What helps, whether it's 1 PM or multiple PM, is encapsulation of what's coming in, what's going out, and then standardization of the formats, like we spoke before. So as far as the structure of PMs is concerned, I would say the cloud PM, I would divide it by products, and then the edge would be a vertical or a horizontal segment, and then you would have vertical products that cater to different businesses or markets or segments. But there has to be one common link about the edge PM who's able to cater to all these vertical PMs and also manage the PM who's working with different devices. I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm open feedback. I mean, it's everyone's just trying and testing as far as the people I'm talking to in the IoT space is concerned.
Yep. Okay. This is fantastic. Do you want to get out of the screen, the shared mode, so we can thank you?
Thank you so much. Do you have any questions?
People are taking it in. I think it's going to, they'll need to internalize a lot of stuff that you gave. So no questions. So thank you so much, Sneha. And hang in there. We are going to switch to design camp. We've been covering product, and so now we are going to switch to design camp. And we have Alex joining us. I'm going to give her the center stage. And let me start